What if I told you the golden, crispy chicken you've been craving isn't what you think it is? Behind the breading, the marinades, the mouth-watering smell, lurks a Frankenstein mix of fillers, chemicals, and lab-born flavors. You're not biting into pure meat. You're sinking your teeth into a corporate science project. And the worst part, you've been feeding it to your kids, believing it was safe. Wait until you hear what's really inside. Nuggets or lab experiments? They look harmless, bite-sized, comfort food for kids and adults alike. But a fast food chicken nugget is not a piece of chicken. It's a carefully engineered product, one that starts with scraps of meat, skin, and fat, blended into a paste that bears little resemblance to anything that once roamed a barnyard. Experts warn that in some chains, less than half of what you're eating is actually chicken muscle. The rest? Cornstarch, soy protein, modified food starch. These aren't there to enhance flavor. They're there to stretch the meat, to bulk up each nugget so it costs the corporation pennies to produce, while you pay full price. And then come the additives, the unpronounceable names you'd never sprinkle on your dinner at home. Sodium phosphate to lock in moisture, TBHQ, a petroleum-derived chemical, to keep the oils from going rancid. These compounds don't just sit quietly in your body. Over time, they build up, straining your kidneys, disrupting hormones, and in some cases triggering hyperactivity in children. Imagine sending your child off to school after breakfast, only to wonder why they can't focus, why their energy swings like a pendulum. Even the crispy golden coating is a chemical achievement. Fried in vats of oil that are used for hours, sometimes days, the batter soaks up not just fat but degraded compounds formed from high-heat breakdown. These compounds have been linked to inflammation, heart disease, and in severe cases, even carcinogenic effects. You're not eating a nugget. You're eating the end result of a profit-driven experiment where your health is the variable they're willing to gamble with. And if you think the problem ends with nuggets, you're wrong. Because the chicken sandwich you've been told is juicy and fresh, that's a whole new layer of deception waiting to be peeled back. Breading, brining, and a chemical bath. That juicy chicken sandwich everyone raves about. It's not freshness you're tasting. It's chemistry. Long before that sandwich lands in your hands, the chicken breast has been soaked in a brine, a salty, chemical-infused solution designed to keep it plump. But this isn't just salt water. It's a cocktail of sodium phosphates, modified starches, and preservatives that lock moisture inside, even if the meat itself is dry and aging. That burst of flavor when you bite in. It's the release of injected water, not natural juices from fresh meat. And then comes the breading. Sure, it's crispy, but it's a sponge for oil. Not clean, fresh oil, but industrial frying vats that are topped off, not replaced, over days of use. With every hour that oil sits bubbling, it breaks down into harmful compounds. Some of these are aldehydes, unstable molecules that can damage your cells and are linked to cancer risk. The darker the oil, the more your sandwich is saturated with this toxic brew. The frying process also creates something more sinister: advanced glycation end products. These compounds don't just increase inflammation, they accelerate aging at the cellular level. That means your skin, your joints, your organs, all paying the price for that crispy crunch. And yet, the sandwich is marketed as wholesome, sometimes even as natural. The bun is soft, the lettuce is crisp, the sauce is creamy. But none of that changes the fact that beneath that golden crust is a heavily altered piece of meat, engineered for shelf life, not for health. If you thought grilled chicken would be a safer bet, free from oil and deep frying, brace yourself. Because the healthy grilled chicken option is one of the industry's dirtiest secrets. Char marks, hidden toxins. It looks like the smart choice. No breading, no deep-fried oil bath, just a clean, lean piece of grilled chicken, right? That's the illusion they want you to buy. The truth is, most grilled chicken served in fast food chains never touches a grill in the restaurant. It's cooked in distant processing plants, flash frozen and shipped across the country. By the time you see it, it's been reheated, often microwaved, not freshly grilled. Those perfect dark lines across the surface, they're not from a hot grate. They're painted on with edible ink or branded using a heated stamp. And that smoky aroma? It's a lab-made flavor, designed to trick your senses into thinking you're eating something freshly charred over fire. But the deception goes deeper. To keep these reheated fillets from turning into cardboard, they're injected with moisture retention agents, substances like propylene glycol. You've seen that name before, in antifreeze. Here, it's safe in small amounts, according to regulators, but it can stress your kidneys over time and disrupt hormone function. And if you eat this regularly, those small amounts start stacking up. Even the marinade is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Packed with sodium, sugar, and preservatives, it ensures that your healthy order can contain more salt than a burger and fries combined. That sodium overload doesn't just raise blood pressure. It forces your heart to work harder, inching you toward long-term damage one bite at a time. The saddest part? People order grilled chicken to take care of themselves. They swap the fries for a salad. They choose water over soda. They think they're making the better choice, but they're still eating the same chemical-laced, factory-processed meat as the deep-fried options, just with a different disguise. And if that didn't make you rethink your safe option, wait until you hear about chicken tenders, the so-called family favorite that acts like a sponge for every toxin in the kitchen. Biting into a chemical sponge. They're the universal crowd pleaser, crispy on the outside, soft and meaty on the inside. But bite into a fast food chicken tender and you're sinking your teeth into one of the most deceptive creations on the menu. In many chains, less than 40% of what you're eating is actual chicken muscle. The rest is a slurry of skin, fat, connective tissue, and binding agents, whipped into a paste, pressed into shape, and then frozen until the fryer calls its name. This isn't just processed food. It's reconstructed meat, built for profit margins, not nutrition. And here's where the sponge part comes in. That thick breading you love. It doesn't just add crunch. It soaks up fryer oil like a thirsty rag. After hours, sometimes days, of repeated use, that oil becomes a chemical soup filled with degraded fats and toxic byproducts. When you bite into a tender, you're not just eating breading, you're eating the concentrated residue of every chicken part that's been fried before it. Even worse, tenders are prime breeding grounds for acrylamide, a compound that forms when starchy coatings are fried at high heat. Acrylamide isn't just a technical term. It's a substance scientists link to cancer risk in long-term exposure. And because tenders have both thick breading and long fry times, they're loaded with it. Then there's the addictive crunch. It's no accident. Many chains use chemical leaveners like sodium acid pyrophosphate to puff up the breading and create that perfect airy snap. That satisfying sound when you bite down is carefully engineered to make you crave more, even as your body struggles to process the cocktail of chemicals inside. Parents hand tenders to kids thinking they're serving real chicken. But what they're really giving them is an oily sponge, saturated with substances that can inflame young bodies, disrupt hormones, and set the stage for lifelong health problems. And if you think the danger stops at the fryer, think again. Because the frozen chicken patties hiding in your favorite chains are built from something even more disturbing. Defrost, fry, and forget about quality. They arrive at the restaurant in plain cardboard boxes. No feathers, no bones, no resemblance to anything that once clucked. These are frozen chicken patties, the workhorse of chain kitchens, and they're built for one purpose: speed and shelf life, not purity. Most start as what insiders call meat slurry. It's a mix of ground scraps, skin, fat, and cartilage, blended until it forms a sticky paste. Then comes the enhancement phase, ammonia-like processing agents to kill bacteria, followed by flavor boosters like hydrolyzed vegetable protein and MSG to make the bland mash taste like something you'd want to eat. The result is molded into perfectly uniform shapes, not because nature made them that way, but because the factory did. You might think the cooking process would help, but here's the problem. These patties are designed to survive months in deep freeze, meaning they're loaded with preservatives. Sodium erythorbate to prevent discoloration, sodium aluminum phosphate to keep the texture consistent. Each bite is a dose of chemicals your body never asked for. The frying only adds insult to injury. That breading traps oil deep inside, so even if the patty is later reheated on a flat-top grill, you're still getting a hefty load of reheated fryer grease. And the MSG? It's not just about taste. It hijacks your brain's satiety signals, pushing you to eat more than you need. For some people, it triggers migraines, dizziness, or even asthma-like symptoms. Yet, on the menu, it's called a crispy chicken sandwich, maybe even dressed up with artisan buns or avocado slices to distract you from the reality. But all you're really eating is a frozen, factory-born product, cooked just enough to make you forget where it came from. If you're hoping a salad with grilled chicken is the safer choice, brace yourself, because that so-called healthy topping might be one of the most misleading menu items of all. Let us hide the truth. You order a salad. You feel good about it. You think you've dodged the grease, the carbs, the danger. But the danger is still there, sitting neatly on top, disguised as grilled chicken strips. These strips aren't fresh off a grill. They've been cooked in massive batches weeks, sometimes months, earlier, then frozen and shipped across the country. By the time they hit your salad, they've been reheated, often in a microwave, and coated with just enough grill flavor to keep the illusion alive. The meat is soaked in a marinade that's more chemical than culinary, loaded with sodium benzoate, potassium lactate, and hidden sugars. Why sugar in chicken? Because it makes you crave more. It also caramelizes under heat, giving that artificial just grilled look. And here's the kicker. One so-called healthy grilled chicken salad can have more sodium than a cheeseburger and fries combined. That's a cardiovascular time bomb disguised as health food. Then there's the preservative problem. Sodium benzoate isn't harmless. In acidic conditions, it can form benzene, a compound linked to cancer. Your body doesn't thank you for the light dressing or extra greens when the protein on top is actively working against your health. And let's not forget the storage factor. Pre-cooked chicken is stored for weeks before it's used, often in vacuum-sealed bags swimming in its own preservative-laden juices. That's not freshness. That's embalming. You think you're escaping the processed meat nightmare, but all you've done is swap deep-fried breading for chemical-soaked, lean protein. And if you believe wrapping that same chicken in a tortilla makes it better, you're about to meet one of the most deceptive menu items in the fast food industry. If this shocked you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this and subscribe. Your awareness could save lives. Processed meat in a processed blanket. On the surface, a chicken wrap seems like the lighter, fresher cousin to a sandwich. Fewer carbs than bread, more greens, easier to eat on the go. But pull back the tortilla, and you'll see the truth. You've just wrapped processed meat in another layer of processed food. The chicken inside is rarely carved from a fresh breast. Instead, it's often chopped, pressed, and glued together using transglutaminase, the so-called meat glue. It's tasteless, invisible, and perfectly legal, but it binds scraps into a shape that looks like a single solid cut. You'd never know you're eating a Frankenstein patchwork unless someone told you. Then there's the tortilla, soft, warm, and harmless looking, but loaded with hydrogenated oils to keep it pliable for weeks, not days. Those oils are trans fats, the same artery-clogging culprits health experts have been warning about for decades. And because wraps need to stay flexible even after refrigeration, they're also pumped with emulsifiers and dough conditioners that your digestive system doesn't exactly celebrate. The sauces, a hidden disaster. Most wraps come with creamy dressings or sweet glazes to keep the chicken from tasting dry. Those sauces are sugar bombs laced with preservatives, citric acid, and artificial flavors designed to hook your taste buds. By the time you've finished your light lunch, you've unknowingly swallowed a chemical cocktail capable of sparking inflammation and long-term health problems. And let's not forget, the wrap is the perfect disguise for older meat. Slightly rubbery texture, a heavy sauce masks it. Off smell, spices and seasoning cover it up. This is how chains stretch inventory, keeping costs down while your body pays the price. Think the kids' menu is safer because the portions are smaller. Think again. What's hiding in children's chicken meals might be the dirtiest secret of all. Bright colors, happy mascots, tiny boxes with toys inside. The kids' meal is marketed as pure joy, but the truth hiding inside that cheerful packaging is anything but innocent. The chicken nuggets and tenders served to children often have the highest filler ratios of any menu item. In some cases, less than a third of that meat is actual chicken muscle. The rest? A mash of skin, fat, bone fragments, and binding agents bulked out with starches and soy protein. These aren't just shortcuts, they're deliberate cost-cutting moves that treat our children's health as expendable. Then comes the sodium. Absurd amounts for a child's small body. Some kids' chicken meals pack over 1,000 milligrams of salt in a single serving, more than half the recommended daily limit for an adult. This constant sodium overload forces young hearts and kidneys to work harder than they should, setting the stage for high blood pressure and heart disease before they've even hit their teenage years. And let's not ignore the flavor enhancers. MSG and yeast extract are common in kids' chicken products, not to make them taste better, but to train young palates to crave hyper-flavored, over-seasoned food. This rewires taste preferences, making fresh, whole foods taste boring by comparison. It's a slow conditioning process that creates lifelong customers for the fast food industry and lifelong health risk for the person eating it. The oil these nuggets are fried in, it's the same industrial fryers used for adult portions, meaning the same degraded fats, the same carcinogenic compounds, just in a smaller, more concentrated package for a much smaller body. We think we're treating our kids, rewarding them, giving them a fun meal. In reality, we're handing them a box of slow-acting harm, wrapped in branding designed to make us feel safe. And if you think that's bad, wait until you hear about the chicken sitting under buffet heat lamps for hours, a petri dish disguised as dinner. Which of these has shocked you the most so far? Drop the number in the comments. We're watching the replies closely. The chicken graveyard. It sits there under warm yellow lights, glistening, tempting you to pile your plate high. But buffet chicken is not fresh, and it's not safe. It's the end of the line, the last stop before the trash bin, and you're the one paying to eat it. Buffet chicken can sit under heat lamps for hours, not minutes, hours. That constant warm temperature isn't high enough to kill bacteria, but it is the perfect incubator for it. Salmonella, listeria, staph. Pathogens thrive in this lukewarm zone, multiplying quietly while the crispy coating dries out and the meat inside slowly turns rubbery. When it looks too dry to serve, there's a trick. Staff will rebread it and drop it back in the fryer to refresh the texture. Sometimes they'll toss it in a sauce to disguise its age. In some places, older chicken is chopped and mixed with fresh batches to stretch the supply. That tender you just bit into? It might be on its second or third trip through the fryer. And then there's the oil. Buffet kitchens often use the same vats all day, cycling in new batches of chicken without fully changing the grease. By dinner service, that oil is a toxic sludge of degraded fats and carcinogenic compounds, the same ones linked to heart disease and certain cancers. But the real kicker? Buffet pricing. That all-you-can-eat deal isn't generosity. It's a way to move as much old product as possible before it spoils beyond repair. The more you eat, the more they clear out inventory, and the more your body absorbs the risks. Cheap chicken is never cheap in the long run. Every shortcut, every cost-cutting trick, every chemical compromise comes with a price, and it's a price you pay with your health. So the next time you're tempted by that endless tray of golden, glistening chicken, remember this: not all that's warm is fresh, and not all that's sold as food should be eaten.